Hello everyone, this is part 20 of my Hocus Pocus dollhouse videos. I just want to say thanks to all the comments and for all of you who have been subscribing.
Alright, so today I am going to start on the floor. I figured since that's the last big thing that needs to be done, I really need to try to finish that up so that I can go ahead and just start sitting some of this furniture in here as I make it. And I think I said in an earlier video, it's got a lot of spots on it where I've been dripping paint and other things on it as I've been working on the house. And I like the bottom level floor, I like the color and stuff, but I need to take some of these spots out of here, just kind of lightly go over those. So I've got all these paint colors, all these brown shades, and I like how the bottom floor is a lighter color, and this level here, the second level, kind of matches that, but then up here on the top it's got a really dark floor and I don't really like that, so I'll just lighten it up. But I don't want just like a solid flat color. I like all the texture that it gives, just having the different shades kind of blending around. It just looks more real and more natural. So I'll just lightly go over the floor, just dry brush some of those lighter colors up here just to try to match this. And then these, I think this level, I know the bottom is actually mixed with Mod Podge, and that gave it a really neat look instead of just going with a straight flat, flat out paint. The Mod Podge just kind of made it, I don't know, I don't even know how to explain it. I don't know what word I'm wanting to use, but it just made it look really good rather than just using straight up paint. So another thing I'm going to see while I've got the camera going is the lighting, and I actually got a new light, so I'm going to see how that looks. This is my light that I've been using, and I got this really cool little light here, and you just push this button. Well, it's not really wanting to do anything. Oh wait, hang on. Oh, I don't have it plugged up. Wait a minute. Hold on. Okay, so here we are. This is the old light. I'm going to turn that off, and then this is the new light. Yeah, I don't really like that. This is like I don't know. It's okay. It's bright, and it hold on. I don't know. I think the old light has a more warm glow. It looks better, but I mean, it don't really matter. I think I'll use, see, this new light just has a blue, like a really cold look to it. I don't know that I like that, but I can still use it for other things. And even when I'm actually sitting here working, it don't look that blue. Does it look blue? I don't know. It don't look blue in real life, but as far as trying to video, I sure don't like how it looks. But it will come in handy when I'm actually just sitting here working on it. So anyways, let me get some of these little paint colors out, and I will work on the floor. And I've got a little list of things I want to talk about. Alright, so I've actually got both the lights going just because it's good for me to see it that way. Now I've got 5 shades of brown, and I'm just going to randomly take a little bit of those. I'm not necessarily going to mix them all together, but I'm just going to go in here with this little flat sort of a brush, and then just go along the edge. And see, I've already got that up on the wall, but I'm going to go over this with like the black watered down paint after I get this done. And I'm not necessarily trying to paint the whole floor again. I'm just going to kind of try to hit some of these spots and make it a little more even with the rest of the floor so it ain't so spotty. And I just got different shades out because some places need to be lighter, some need to be darker. And I just like having different colors, because if I used all the same color, it'd just be way too flat. So I will just work on this, and let me actually grab my list. I have a little list of stuff here I was going to mention. And like in my earlier videos, I said I'd never really made a dollhouse before. And actually I don't like this brush. I'm going to step away because I gotta go find a bigger brush. If I stick with this little thing, it's going to take me like a year to get this done. So hang on just 1 minute. Alright, I got a much bigger brush. I don't know that that actually looks that much bigger on the screen, but it is a bigger brush. But one of the other things I was going to mention that is on my list is I have watched other people make the Sanderson sister house. There's a few other videos. Some of you may even be watching my videos. But there's not really been a Sanderson sister house done the way I'm doing it, like an actual dollhouse that opens up and has all the stuff going on inside. I've seen a couple people do them, but they're just like the outside part. They don't actually open or have rooms in them or anything. But they're all so good. I've absolutely loved watching everybody else's videos. I don't know that I've seen them all. I've just seen like maybe 2. But I didn't really want to get too many ideas from other people right now. So, because I didn't really want, really want to copy or anything. But some of the 2 that I've watched, I've noticed there are things we've done sort of similar, or actually some of them's been exactly the same way. But I do like watching other people's videos, and I'll probably watch more later on. And actually, I have no idea what I'm doing with this paint. This is not really, I don't know. I've just got to play with it and get the hang of it. It might be easier to actually just do it all the same color instead of trying to patch it up, because I have no idea what colors I used before. And right in here, where I just rubbed some paint, that's already drying. And it is drying better than it looks. When paint goes on, sometimes it'll dry darker. Usually it dries darker. Sometimes it dries lighter. And it's looking pretty good. I'm mainly just going to go around, like I said, I've said this already, but just try to hit these spots so they don't look too spotty. And over here at the door, like right here, you can really see a black spot right here where I had painted those rocks that are outside around the bottom of the house. So I got to get rid of that black right here. And then let me see. So yeah, my first thing on my list was I do watch other people make Sanderson sister houses, which I've only seen like 2 or 3 of those. And I wish somebody else would make one like I'm doing, like an actual full-scale dollhouse, because I'd like to just see how someone else would do it. Oh yeah, and I think I've mentioned this already, but I want to do a little clip of a video where I'm just talking about different types of foam board. But of course I have to get those before I do that, so I can like show you stuff about the foam boards. Oh yeah, in my own house that I actually live in, I'm a primitive type, country type of person. My furniture that's in our house and all our decorative items is really country and primitive. And there's so many things in my own house that would fit right perfect in with the Sanderson sisters' house. So this house is like really fun to work on because it's my style. And of course doing Dorothy's house, now like I said, we're country people, and of course Dorothy's house is a little country farmhouse, so that's going to be another one that I can actually relate to and have a lot of fun doing that whenever I start it. And let's see, Oh, I'm trying to read what I've got wrote. I can't even read my own writing. Oh yeah, and I've just kind of looked over a couple of my earlier videos, and I can't get over how this has came from a few pieces of white foam board to what it is now. I mean, I'm kind of like shocked myself when I'm looking at this, thinking, I just can't believe I've made this. But actually, I think I'm going to do a lot of this painting on this floor off camera, because it's just really just me smearing on different colors of brown till it all kind of matches a little bit better. And then just in this area that I've done, it is looking better. I think the lighting drowns out so much of it, but it is getting a better look. It is getting rid of some of these dark spots where I was painting the wall. And let me turn the camera here. Back in this area, you can really see the spots. Now that don't look bad. This little dark spot here, that don't bother me. But like this white back here is where I was putting that stuff on the wall. So that definitely needs to, you know, be painted over. So that's just the kind of stuff I'm doing right now. It's just going in here, and I've got little pieces of stuff in here where I've been cutting stuff. I should have dusted this off a little bit. And speaking of dust, this has already obviously been collecting some dust sitting in my house, and I actually like how that looks because it just makes it more realistic. And I actually had a spider web in it, and I didn't bother that spider web. I just thought that was kind of cool, so I left it. Alright, now you can see this bottom is a much brighter color. It's way better with the lighting. You can sort of just see that floor is a little bit more of an even color, and it's a lot lighter than this up here, which I'm working on this up here now. But I do like how it's a better contrast from the walls. My goal was to lighten it, and then I'm gonna go right over this with that watered down black just to darken it again, but not exactly the whole thing, just in spots, like mainly here around the fire pit and around these beams or these columns, posts, whatever, and along the edges of the wall. I will go, because that's where dirt would build up, so I'm going to really go around these areas, you know, just to make them look dirty. But I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to make sure that I get all this color done first on all three levels, and then that's when, after that's done and dry, I'll go just do like a little black wash in places just to make it look dirty. So I'm just going to finish up this, and I love how that looks up here. I like that it's not so brown, because the walls, the ceilings, the floor, everything's just this dark brown, and it was just looking kind of bland, kind of blah, like in real life. I think on camera it looks good, but in real life I'm just not digging it. So I like that I'm changing it up, and then it is looking a little too bright, too much of a contrast maybe, but like I said, I'll go darken some of the corners and stuff and make the details pop a little bit. Alright, now here is a look at the floors. I've got them all painted the same color, and I'm really happy I'm finally getting this part of the house done. I'm just kind of moving the light around just to get different brightnesses, because it's hard to, I don't know if it's just my camera or what, but it's just hard to really get that to capture the way it looks in real life. But it looks better. I do have some paint up on this post here. I'll have to go through. The very last thing I'll do to this house is just go through and touch up little tiny things like that, but I can't do that now, because every time I touch up these posts and get them perfect, I just end up getting something else on them. So I'm just finally learned that instead of trying to nitpick all that little stuff right now, just come back at the very end of your project and do that very last thing. But I'm just so glad these floors are done. Now, like I said, I will have to let all this dry, and in the morning I will come back in with the black wash and do that. And then of course, over on the other side, this side around here has been painted. I made sure that I painted these at the same time, because when I first painted the floor with the first coat that it had, I did this side and then I did the other side, but I done them at like a week apart, and I never did get the colors matched up exactly. So I'm just glad that I've got all the floors done, and I've got a few other things I'm going to do in this video, so I'll do those tomorrow, work on those tomorrow also. And now I don't even know what to say. Anyway, do the black in the morning. I'll do that so that that can get done, and that way I can get my little furniture placed in here. And I know I'll be working on the mill wheel. Okay, so here we are. This is the next morning, and I really love how the floors look. They do match a lot better, especially this part up here. And what I'm going to do now is just take my black acrylic paint and put a little bit of that in a cup, and let's see, pour some water in there. Not a whole lot of water, but that's probably too much. That's probably good. Okay, so then that's what I'm going to use to age the floor. And I've got this size of a brush, about as wide as what my thumb is. And I don't want it real thick. I don't want the paint too thick. I'm just going to go in there and wash the corners and the edges. Anywheres I think dirt would build up. And if I want to kind of fan that out a little bit, I've got this bigger brush. It's just like a real crude, but it's just dry. I'm not really going to put anything on it. But if I feel like I need to drag that out, I can just sort of smear or drag that out and just kind of blend it, or just spread it a little bit with this bigger brush. But I don't really think I need to, not right now anyway. I think it's looking good. But I just want to go in here and do that. And I might take this brush and just sort of drag it out. So I'm just going to go around all the things, all these little posts. And this is going to make all the little details pop out more. Like I've got little nail holes in some of these boards where I just poked a ice pick to give like a little indentation. So that'll make all that pop out better. And then up here where I got that paint on this post, I'll touch that stuff up later, like I said earlier. And I'm really bad for repeating things. Like I'll say something and I'll say it like 20 times, or I feel like I'm saying it 20 times. So I'm sorry for repeating everything so much, but I guess I just say stuff to make sure I said it. But you don't want like a big puddle. Like if you see a puddle, I'm just going to smear that around so it don't look like a puddle. But I think just going around the edges is going to be good enough. And I might can sort of drag it out a little bit across the floor, but I'm not trying to make the whole floor the same. Like I'm just mainly wanting this grimy look around the edges. And if you're using too much paint, you know, the more paint, obviously, the more paint, the darker it's going to be. So If you don't want it too dark, just put more water in it. And as I'm dragging this out, I'm making sure that I go with the grain of the wood, or the grain of how I've got my boards laid, just so it looks more natural. Because if you see brush strokes, those could just look like the wood grain. So, don't know how well that shows up. And like I said, I don't want too much. I don't want it too dark. But even right here on the edge, I want to put some right along the edge. Because, you know, when you're climbing up on that ladder that goes here, your hands will, you know, make it dirty. Or even your feet if you're stepping up right here on the edge. And of course back here where there's a lot of traffic, it's going to be less dark. So I think that's looking really cool. And I think I've got this done right here. And now I'm just, oops, no, I've forgot this little corner back in here. But now I think that's good. So I will go ahead and move to the bottom. And if I do want it darker, I don't necessarily have to paint or add more paint to it. I could just go over it with a second layer once this is dry. I'm not going to really do anything till this is dry and I see how it looks. But another thing is I could sort of dry brush the whole thing down here, because that would really make those little boards pop out more. Now these are individual little boards down here. This is actually wood. This up here was just strips of I think I used poster board on these. But they both have a good look to them. So I'll get this little aging process done, and then we'll probably start the water wheel, because I've actually got that started, some little parts for that, and I'd like to get that done because that's the next big thing to do. Alright, so here's the other side. I think this looks really good. I may need to go a little darker around this side of the fire pit, because there's a little piece of the fire pit on this part. I might need to go a little darker here just to make sure it matches the other side. And then of course back in here, this is where the fireplace is. So I made sure to go back in there with a little extra black. And I'm just real tickled to have this part done. And then I can place in these little pieces of furniture and not have to move them out every time I'm working on it now. And I think I showed this, but I'm still going to go in here. Once everything's done, I'm going to touch up little parts of the paint where I've got paint in places where I don't want it. And I'm also going to brush some of that black over anything that's not been aged yet. Like up here I've got this little crock, and I think if that's been sitting up there a while, it would definitely need some little grime building up on that. So I mean, I'll age, if I've not aged something yet, it will eventually get aged. I might just wait till the very end and just do it all at once. So anyways, here's the floor done, and now I will start the mill wheel. Alright, so here we are getting ready to work on the mill wheel, the inside part of the mill wheel. And I've got this crazy glare coming through the window, and that's kind of cool lighting. That'll be something I can remember when at the end of the project to do pictures. That'll be cool to have the real sunlight coming through like that. But right now it's really glaring, and I need to block that a little bit. So then I'm going to turn my light on a second. This dowel rod will connect to the wheel on the outside, so this is going to go through that window, and then this inside part, I've got to make these little gears. So I'm going to use, this is a piece of foam board that I've cut into a circle, and then I've put a piece of cardboard, same shape, same size, just glued it to the back of that. And then I've just took that dowel rod and I've just pressed it in the center, because I'm going to glue it to this dowel rod. And I didn't measure how big of a circle I've done here. I've just kind of eyeballed it. So I've just cut out that circle and I'm just going to glue that on. And I may actually drill a hole into this to go all the way through, so that this can come all the way through and you can see it here, just to make sure it's in there far and it don't just pop off later. I'd rather know that it's in there really good. And then out here we've got to have little pegs sticking out. Now of course I'll cut them short, about like that, and they'll be stuck in all the way around, kind of like the numbers on a clock, probably about 12 around there. I'll just have to space them out to where they look even. So I'll have to cut these. But before I do anything, I'm just going to look at a picture and try to see how this looks. Now you don't really see it very well. I don't know how well that shows up. I'll try to post a picture on the screen. So I'll try to post that picture here, and right in here there is a wood, it looks like some sort of a round wood piece with a hole going down in it. And I've actually went into my backyard and I've cut this piece of a tree, and it just happened to have a hole going through it. So that's going to sit here. And this piece here, you can just barely make out this little round piece with these pegs in it. That's what this is going to be. This is going to become that little, I'm trying to watch my glare so my glare don't block it out, but you can just sort of see this round piece that's back here, kind of like this, and it's going to have those pegs, and then you can just barely see right in there. This will be that. So I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm just trying to make it look, I'm just trying to make that show up on screen, but you can just barely see that behind here. And then there's another, let me see, I'm going to take that picture away for a minute. I don't know if any of this makes sense, but I'll kind of make this, show me making this a little bit, and then I'll compare this picture to what's going to be right down here, and you can see what it's going to look like. None of us, even myself, I have no idea how this is going to look until I actually get it done, but I've just got all this in my brain how it needs to be, so I'm just going to start working on it. But again, my camera is showing that it's got a low battery, so while I get all these little holes drilled in here and get all these little pegs cut, I'll get all my little pieces cut out, and then I'll come back and just show you putting it together and then attaching it into the house. Alright, so I learned something just now that I thought would be good to show. Like if you're ever drilling holes through something, like I drilled these in here and I want this one to match, so I just hold them together and just drill you know, through these holes. But the smartest thing that I've figured out is after I get both the holes drilled, like I went ahead and went through this one, so I'm going to punch this through so it goes through both of them,
and then I've already drilled one right up here, and so I'm just going to stick this little stick through there, and that just helps hold this together. And every time I drill a hole, like I've got 2 of them done, so I can drill another one. But anyway, you just keep poking those through there, and that's helping me hold these in place to make sure these holes are all going to be lined up. And one more. Now I've got all my little pieces cut out. I don't know why I've got this. Oh, yeah, that was supposed to be for a bag clip for something else. Alright, so let's see. I've got all my little pegs cut out, and I've got these little holes drilled. Oh, and I drilled the big hole in the center for this stick to go in. And something that scared me is this piece of stick is for what goes through the wheel and inside the house, but then there was supposed to be another piece coming down like this, and this is the only piece that I have that's this size. I thought I had another piece, so I was kind of freaking out. But then I found this little sponge brush, and the handle to this is actually the same size as this dowel rod, so I got lucky when I found this. Thank goodness I had that, because I didn't want to have to, you know, run out somewhere and buy one. I was just really wanting to get it done today. So I got so lucky when I found that, and it's the same size, so that can be the piece that, the other piece that I need. So that wheel will go on there, this one will go on here, and I've got my 2 little gears. Alright, so there's the wood glue, and I'm just going to glue these little pegs. I sat here cutting all these out, and I had to sand the tips of each one of them. I want to get quite a bit of glue in there. And the holes are a little bigger than the stick. I kind of made the holes too big, but hopefully they will work. So I'll just sit here, get all these glued in, make sure they are, I think some's a little taller too, but I don't even care at this point. I think it'll look fine. So I'm just going to glue these in, make sure they're standing up straight. Hopefully, like I said, they won't stick to that wax paper. I'm getting excited every time I get something done. I mean, it's always fun and exciting to get something done. Alright, so I've got them all glued, and I'm just looking straight down over these to make sure they are sticking straight up. And I think they look pretty good. So I'll just let this dry, and then come back and glue them to the dowel rods. Alright, now I've kind of went crazy. I was actually over here working on this and not even filming. I actually started painting this, which I don't think I've really got too far ahead. I mean, I've just put all those little pieces together. This one you might be able to see it better because I have not got it painted all the way. I've got to sand it a little bit, these little pegs. But this little piece, well, this longer piece here, it looks like some kind of a kitchen utensil, but it's going to come through here, and it's going to rest in that windowsill. So I've actually found this piece of PVC pipe. This was just a little piece of PVC pipe that was cut off of something else. Oops. And I went down to my daddy's tool shed and it just happened to be sitting there, and it's gonna work perfect. Let me see, I'm trying to make sure it shows, because I know that sun, okay, that just ain't even showing up. I'm gonna have to block that light out back there. The sun's shining through. But anyway, that little ring is gonna sit there in the middle of that window, and then I'll just sort of show you here. It'll just sit in the windowsill like that, and then I've cut this little piece of cardboard. I'm gonna put it like this and then paint all this black to look like some sort of a wrought iron or cast iron piece that will just hold this little mechanism, I don't even know how to say that word, but anyway, this will just hold that, and this piece will turn as the wheel turns. And so that's pretty much what I'm going to do. Just put that in the window, paint it up, have this coming through, and again, I'll try to get this picture posted, if I hadn't already posted it, of, you know, the wheel in the movie. I mean, it's really hard to see this part in the movie. It don't really show it real good. And actually, I've got to cut some little, let me see, let me grab some scissors real quick. Alright, now I've actually got to cut some little pieces, sort of like this, because I've got to put some little details, some little support pieces, kind of like this, if that shows up at all. So I'll put like 4 of these, 4 or 5, like space them around here, just out of some of this foam board. And I'll have to do that to both parts of these little gear pieces. Alright, there's those little triangle support pieces. And here they are glued on to the little, whatever these are called. I don't know what you call them. I guess gears. I would call them a gear. So that's how that looks. And I'll just paint those up. Probably mix in some Mod Podge with the paint, because that Mod Podge will just act like a glue and hold it all together more. So I'll put that in there. Paint them up. I think it'd be better to paint them before I put them in place, because once I get them back in under here, it would just be hard to paint them. So I'll just go ahead and paint them real quick and then get them glued in place. Alright, so here is that little piece of PVC pipe that is just sitting here on the windowsill. I kind of hot glued that in place a little bit, and then you can sort of see that piece of cardboard folded over. And I pushed these little, I glued that in place all the way across with just some tacky glue. And I've pushed these little pins in here just to help hold it. And I've actually had to use these tiny little needle nose pliers to push that in, because my fingers just can't get in there to do it. So I pushed those pins in there. So I don't think that's going to go anywhere. Alright, so now back in here, you see that little piece I just put there. This piece will go through, the wheel will hook onto that, and it will turn in here. And then whatever that bottom piece is. But now let me see. Now instead of just gluing this directly to the top, that's not going to be much to glue to. I just feel like that would break off easily. So I found whatever this is, and I thought it would be good to glue this onto that and then glue that to the ceiling instead of just that piece of wood, because like I just said, that would just not be much there to hold and it would just snap easy. So I just feel like this would support it a little bit better. And if you ever see up and under, it'll just kind of give you something more interesting to look at than just that sticking into this top. I just think that kind of makes it look kind of cooler. And this is some sort of an electrical piece. I don't know what it is. I just found it in my daddy's tool shed, so I'm going to use that. Alright, so here is what I've come up with. You can see those little parts in place, and I think it looks pretty good. Now I've got this piece a little bit higher than I meant for it to be. I'm just going to leave it like it is. Now you can sort of see that little piece coming through here, and I know this is supposed to turn, and it turns this, and then it'll turn stuff upstairs. But of course this is all glued in place, so it's not really going to turn. But I've added these little candles here too, because I noticed in the movie when this is spinning around, you can actually see candles on this. So I like how it looks though, and I'll turn it around and show you the outside, because I've actually changed something back there in the window that I'll show a little bit better. But I think it looks pretty good. I'm going to turn the camera around here where you can see the side of it a little bit better. Now of course that will straighten up, and I don't know what in the heck that is. I don't know, I just was making this up as I was going. So I'm sure if this was real, there's no way it would work, but as far as looks, it looks good. So I like it, and yeah, so anyway, I like how it looks. Alright, so I think I showed the one little piece of PVC pipe that I just glued here for this to come through, but it was too low, so I went ahead and put one on top of that, just hot glued that on top of the other one, and then I put a piece of that strip of cardboard all the way over just to help strap it down and hold it together. So now that piece comes out at the little top hole instead of the bottom hole, and it still looks good. It still looks like it's some sort of a mechanical part, so I don't mind it being two of them stacked. And then of course this little piece will come in pretty soon, and of course the wheel will just slide on first. Now I've not got the wheel painted all the way, so I've still got to paint that wheel, and then this piece will go on. And I had to raise this up just a little bit, so I've glued it onto a piece of foam board, and that raised it up just as much as I needed it to go. And I'm just going to cut around here and cut that excess off, and then just paint that to match. But that's how that's going to sit up, and then that will spin just like that. And I even thought about putting a little mechanical piece in here to actually make it turn, because I do have something that will do that, but I just don't know if I want to fool with that much detail, because I mean it's not like it's ever really going to be on display or anything to be seen. So and I just like being able to do this to it.